So much like all things in life, if you do it long enough, well, you're eventually going to get sick of it, which I think is healthy because it forces you to make one of three decisions. The first being, should you just quit and take a long break? The second decision is, do you just continue doing what you're doing and just hope for brighter days? And the third is stick with it, but in a slightly different capacity. Now, I certainly would never condone quitting. And I also don't think you should just kind of continue pressing on without making any modifications to the way you've been operating. And I personally feel that the best course of action here to kind of overcome this is by making some temporary changes to the way you've been going about things. So if you find yourself saying, I'm sick of landscape photography, then I really hope you'll gather at least one piece of helpful information out of this week's episode that'll help breathe, a bit of fresh air back into your photography. And the best part about being sick of photography is that if you embrace the suck, as the kids say, then nothing but good things can come out of it. Now, this is something that I think happens to all artists, all photographers, all creative people from time to time. I know it definitely happens to me, not every year, but I have noticed a trend over the last probably 5 years that if this does happen to me, it usually occurs sometime in the middle of the summertime. The summertime, in my opinion, is definitely the least photogenic month or photogenic season of the year. Everything is just green. There's not a lot of color contrast. Everything seems to be kind of hot and hazy. The atmosphere is hazy, and it's just not a super inspiring time of year for myself. And this is kind of where I started to kind of fall into this rut, so to speak. And what has helped me out, and I've always heard about this, and I certainly didn't come up with this idea, but coming up with a project. Now, stick with me here, because when I hear project, I immediately think, okay, another project, more work, more things for me to do. But if you really embrace the project, it can really create a phenomenal opportunity for yourself to really expand your photographic prowess, so to speak. And I'm going to share with you in just a moment a project that I've been working on recently as well. But I started to kind of think about this. I was like, I really need to kind of shift my mindset a little bit. And this is the project that I've been working on right here. And it's just basically something that's totally different. This is just a coastline in Iceland. These are some glacier rivers in Iceland. This is the volcano in Iceland. I just love the play on, new Earth versus or new Earth encroaching on old Earth. It's kind of a lava field just advancing across this field. And what I was just trying to do is just break the norm. Stop doing what I was doing, because for years I was kind of like just a grand landscape photographer. And if the conditions were not perfect for a grand landscape image, I was really struggling. And the perfect conditions are, those explosive sunrises or sunsets with just tons of color in the sky. Since grand landscape photography is very condition dependent, because the sky is always going to play a large, or I should say, the sky is always going to take up a large portion of your photograph. If the sky is bland, you're in a lot of trouble. So I was trying to figure out a way, like, how can I become more productive when I'm on location? And this is kind of where this project was created for myself, is that I was trying to figure out, when the sky is not super exciting, what can I do besides just packing up my stuff and going home or going back to my hotel and trying again another day? How can I be productive when I'm on location? And I was trying to figure out ways to focus on more intimate details. And that's what this project is all about, is basically just doing the exact opposite of what I was doing, which is grand landscapes. All of these photographs here, none of them have the sky. This image right here, I love this because this is, you really can't tell the scale here. This is just a drone shot. And this image could be from, 100 feet in the air. And this location could be absolutely massive. But in all actuality, I just basically flew a drone, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 feet above this geothermal hot spring to capture this image. And I really love that kind of play on scale here, where you really have no idea how large this actually is. And I kind of like that momentary bit of confusion that this photograph causes. But ultimately, there's just no sky in it. And this is just very different from what I normally do. And I think that's really what the project is all about. And I have had so much fun doing this. I find this type of photography very relaxing. I find it to be helping me kind of think a little bit differently. But most importantly, I feel more comfortable now when the sky isn't cooperating on those bluebird days where there's just no clouds in the sky, there's no texture, there's no interest, there's no drama. I don't have to just kind of just say, oh, well, let me just pack things up and come back another day. Now I feel like I can put on a telephoto lens and maybe get a little bit more creative, focus on smaller details that have absolutely nothing to do with the sky. And I personally feel that that has made me a much better photographer. And here's just a couple more images. This is from Acadia last fall. I very rarely ever take these types of photographs, these top down, just very intimate details, but this is one of my favorite images last year. And then, of course, intentional camera movement, something that I have never, ever tried before. It's always something that never really excited me a whole lot because I always felt that, it's not anything that I would put on my website. It's nothing that I would consider portfolio quality work or anything like that. But then when I started to play around with this when I was in Acadia last fall as well, I couldn't believe how, one, how much fun it was, but two, how much I liked this image that came out of that. And I think that's just a great example of just getting out of your comfort zone, just doing something a little bit different. If you're a macro photographer, maybe try, grand landscapes. If everything you do is telephoto photography, maybe try wide angle lens. Just trying to shake things up a little bit. That's what the project was all about for me. And when I said at the beginning of the video, how if you embrace the suck, I get that from my kids, but I think that is a very powerful quote, especially as it relates to this week's episode, because when you get in these kind of ruts and you get in that kind of I'm sick of landscape photography mentality, which it happens to everybody. If someone says that it's never happened to them, they're probably lying to you, because it definitely happens from time to time. Regardless of what you're doing, you're going to get tired of it eventually. But if you embrace that and create a project, not just a project you just mentioned in your mind, like a real project where you put a timeline on it. Maybe it's next month, maybe it's the next 2 months, 6 weeks, whatever it is, and write it down. Write down what your project is. So when you go out on location, it feels like it's more concrete versus you just saying like, oh, I just want to take, better photos. Create a real structure around your project and a timeline when you're going to start it, when it's going to be complete. And then by the time that project is complete, I guarantee you, one, you're going to get photographs that are completely different from anything you've ever captured before, but you're going to learn a new skill set, whether it's, macro photography, or maybe it's black and white photography or infrared photography, or maybe you never photographed moving water. Create a project all about moving water. Here's another one from my trip to Iceland, something that I never in a million years would capture, just a very intimate telephoto shot of this close-up of this glacier. And I just love all the shapes in this, all these triangles just pointing up. And that's what really kind of drew me to that area. And here's just another very, very intimate shot of crashing water. And what I love about this image is this could be literally any waterfall in the world. You have no idea what's to the left, to the right, to the top, or to the bottom. You have no idea what the scale is. And once again, I love that momentary bit of confusion that this type of a photograph creates. And then just one more of a lava field. And I just kind of love this abstract nature of this photograph. But all of those photos that I just shared, 8 or 9 images, are all completely different photographs that I have taken in the previous 6 or 7 years. And it was all due to a project. I was feeling like a little bit in a rut a year ago, and I started to really focus on things that are outside of my wheelhouse. Puts me in situations that take me out of my, proverbial box, because I really feel that when you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, that's the best opportunity to grow. If you continue to do things over and over again because you're comfortable with it, yeah, maybe you'll perfect that one thing, but you're never going to really expand beyond that one thing. And I think that when it comes to photography, the more you can learn, the better you're going to be. In my project, the ultimate goal around that was to be able to use whatever type of light is presented, to be able to use whatever type of conditions are presented to me, cloudy days, bright blue sky, whatever the scenario is. It's a good opportunity for me, or it'll create a good opportunity for me to come away with an image that I'm excited about. So that was my goal. So I would highly, highly encourage you, if you are getting tired of landscape photography or portrait photography or wedding photography or whatever type of photography you happen to be into, if you're getting tired of it, create a project around it with timelines, write down a description of what your goal is with this project, and really stick to it. And I promise you, by the time the project is over, you're going to create photographs that you've never created before, and you're going to learn a skill set that you can apply to your photography moving forward as well. So that's what I mean by kind of embracing the suck. After your project is done, you will be better off than before the project even started, or before you even thought about the project. So I do hope that that was helpful. I know it has definitely helped me in the past, and it will continue to help me in the future as well. If you have any questions about this week's episode, please leave them in the comments section below. I'll do my best to get back in touch with you as quick as possible. And if you enjoyed the video, if you could give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already, and share the video with your friends if you enjoyed it that much. I'd greatly appreciate it. And as always, I really do appreciate you watching this week's episode, and I will see you all next Wednesday. Bye.